Hello everyone, my name is Victoria Green and I'm with the Waccamaw Watershed Academy at Coastal Carolina University here in South Carolina. I'm excited to speak with you today about our volunteer water quality monitoring program in the town of Surfside Beach and share with you two case studies where our volunteer monitors use their skills and resources to conduct ad hoc illicit discharge detections for their communities. I'll also share with you some of the challenges we encountered with this approach and finish off with the benefits we observed when volunteers move beyond biweekly sampling. So to get us started, I'll let the town give a brief introduction to their volunteer water quality monitoring program.
Spending time on and around the water is just part of life around here. And if you're planning on spending time in it, don't you want to know what else is? Our beach has never been safer for swimming. Know why? Because we test it. A lot. We have a team of volunteers who work with people who know a thing or two about water. Okay, they know a lot about water. We make these results available to you so you can see what you're getting into. Come down for a demonstration and see for yourself how we work together to keep you informed, educated, and safe. So have fun, feel safe, and enjoy your stay at Surfside Beach, the family beach.
That's a great video that the town produced a couple years back. It gives you an overview of the program and why it is so important to the town. To give you more of a sense of place, the town of Surfside Beach is a small municipality in the Myrtle Beach Resort area, along South Carolina's northeast Grand Strand region. People come from all over the country to enjoy our beaches, so water quality is an important community and economic priority. The state of South Carolina conducts surf zone monitoring along the coastal waters from the typical beach season of May to October, and they're monitoring for the fecal bacteria indicator, Enterococcus. Having done this for some time, they've identified some problem areas, including some sites along Surfside's beachfront coast. These sites were identified on South Carolina's 303D list for Enterococcus impairments for recreational use and have long-term swimming advisories. So the town, as a regulated small municipal separate storm sewer system, is empowered by local ordinance to act once illicit discharges are identified. With this in mind, the town started the Surfside Beach Volunteer Water Quality Monitoring Program with the expertise of the Waccamaw Watershed Academy to assess the contribution of land-based sources to fecal bacteria impairments in the downstream surf zone. The town's volunteer monitoring sites are located in two stormwater ponds immediately upstream of two swash zone discharges. Here you can see part of Myrtle Lake, and in a bit we'll talk about Lake Dogwood. But both drain commercial and residential areas before discharging to the ocean via beach outfalls. Over the years, the volunteer monitors have really come to understand their watershed and its water quality. They monitor a variety of parameters, but today I'm going to focus on turbidity and fecal indicator bacteria. These community scientists have been the first to observe unusual water quality monitoring results, and occasionally the first to respond. I have two examples today of instances where unusual routine monitoring results prompted additional sampling, including microbial and sediment source tracking. First, Lake Dogwood. On the screen, you can see the volunteers' turbidity data and units of NTU that have been collected over the years. In the early years of the program, routine monitoring revealed some seasonal variation, but around 2018, the volunteers observed consistently elevated turbidity readings, which didn't seem to be related to rainfall or seasonal variability. Already having the tools and the training, they communicated with the Director of Public Works and pursued additional sampling sites to try to determine what was causing such high turbidity in their lake. The volunteers also knew of recent land use changes in the watershed that might have contributed to the increase in turbidity. In this case, a recent development of land upstream. So, with the town's blessing, they set out to test their watershed. In addition to measured turbidity values, they also documented observations of bank erosion, as well as anecdotal evidence from neighbors bordering the suspected source. As we all know, watersheds don't often adhere to our political boundaries, and the volunteers' source tracing revealed the culprit was outside of the town's jurisdiction. So the town worked with their surrounding municipal and county partners to enact BMPs in order to mitigate the issue. So here, the volunteers used their resources that they had on hand, their local knowledge, and collaborated with their town officials to identify sources of sediment to Lake Dogwood. Likewise, at our second sampling site in the town, Myrtle Lake, the volunteers were observing pretty consistent elevated E. coli concentrations. The volunteers had a couple ideas of why this might be, including increased waterfowl presence on the lake. That was one suggestion. Another one was perhaps there was tidal backflow from the beach. In this case, the volunteers needed more supplies from us and the commitment of the town to foot the bill and to inform their sampling sites. Once we got them everything they needed, they set out and sampled. What was really great about this volunteer-led sampling schema was it was very responsive. The volunteers would use their data from their routine biweekly monitoring to inform their source tracking. For example, if bacteria levels were really low for routine monitoring, they would hold off on conducting the additional source tracking. This was a pretty recent sampling, and I believe they triangulated the source to a specific block before expected seasonal changes prompted them to halt their source tracking. We expect them to resume sampling should bacteria levels become elevated as the weather warms. We are very fortunate to work with such a great group of volunteers in the town. However, there were some challenges to this approach, namely data reporting and quality control. The same level of quality assurance, quality control that our routine monitoring experiences was not applied to these ad hoc investigations. We did basic record keeping for the town, but essentially the data stayed within the town. While that worried our data manager, the data and methods were of sufficient quality for the town's needs. The town's stormwater manager trusted the results and the science of our volunteers, so they weren't too concerned with archiving of records. As situations come up that require additional testing, we have to be mindful of the intended use of the data to make sure that the data review process would satisfy the intended use. After navigating those data challenges, the benefits to this approach are numerous, including increased resource efficiency when deploying volunteers and the equipment they already have on hand to perform additional sampling. Second, the approach increases the volunteer participation in stormwater issues in the community. And being mostly volunteer-driven, this increases the ownership of their own data. The town, us here at the university, and the surrounding municipalities benefited from their additional sampling, and we all appreciate their contributions. This was a very responsive sampling schema. The community volunteers have a level of access and responsiveness that can only come from sampling in one's backyard. And finally, we were able to utilize site and community knowledge specific to the volunteers and their experiences sampling in their own communities. The program in Surfside Beach is a model of how community scientists can aid their communities by going beyond biweekly sampling. We've got a great group of folks in Surfside who over the years have built up the skills and trust to be so utilized by their stormwater manager. We look forward to the additional investigations the Surfside team conducts and the citizen science they generate. I'm very grateful to be able to collaborate with the wonderful folks in the town of Surfside Beach, and the town's funding support makes our bi-weekly sampling possible. Additional thanks to Dr. Susan Liebes, whose guidance and pioneering of volunteer monitoring efforts in our region have greatly benefited our water quality efforts. Please reach out to me if you'd like more information about our programs, and I am happy to answer any questions at the end of the sessions. Thank you so much for your time.